None of that was recording? Oh! Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the commercial frag tank build. Today we're talking about the Sump. Roll the intro. So, today is a big day. We're going to be talking about how we build the Sump. Now, here at Coral Reed Cay, we're right now a low budget operation. So we'd like to make our dollar stretch as much as we possibly can, which means that it's really good for you guys as viewers. It means that everything we do here, you can do at your own home. So it makes it even better, doesn't it? So the Sump. We originally started with a 29-gallon long tank, an Aqueon tank. Decided that wasn't enough extra space in the case that our return pumps failed and all of the water decided to collect in the sump. Instead of overflowing the sump, flooding our apartment or potentially our future warehouse and then killing all the animals inside if we didn't get to it soon enough, we decided to go with the safe route of making sure that the sump could hold the capacity of any extra overflow of water. Other than that, to start off, we decided to go with we decided so instead of the 20-gallon tank, we decided to go with the 29-gallon. We went with the Aqueon 29-gallon simply because Petco runs a $1 per gallon sale seasonally, as probably most of you know at this point. So we went and picked up a 29-gallon tank for $29 plus tax. And we actually ended up going with a special kit. So we are all about supporting sustainable and supporting America and local businesses. So there's a veteran-owned company that's actually based here in the United States that does laser cutting for acrylic, and they build sump kits, I guess you would call them, specifically for the Aqueon lineup. What they do is you place an order on eBay. They cut the pieces together, and you'll see it here in the video in just a second. And I'll leave a link down in the description in case you want to go support them as well, which I recommend. So after you make the order, they go laser cut all the pieces, send them to you, and then it's pretty simple. It's just a matter of siliconing in the baffles into the tank. So what we do what this whole video is about is using that kit, setting it up, and we didn't really want to take a whole lot of time, so we're going to do a quick little time lapse of everything going on, and I'll talk about it while we watch it. Just giving you some tips and tricks and ideas and whatnot. So to start off, you place your baffles around the equipment that you know you're going to need. Figure out where the baffles need to go and mark it with a dry erase marker or something similar that can be rubbed or washed off. Then you outline each of those baffles with painter's tape, and I'll explain that in just a second. So for the 2 spots where you would normally put filter socks, we opted to go with filter cups, simply because we can add the filter floss on top of the cups, as well as filling the cups with carbon and ammonia reducers and things like that, just to make the process easier. You'll see here that I have each of the chambers labeled. I have the flow, the intake fuge, the equipment and return area. And all those are not only for me to remember exactly where things go, but also so that you guys can see how my sump is going to be set up. Here you see me taking my gloved hand and rubbing the silicone into the seam between the baffle and the glass. So this not only gives it a nice finished look, but it also keeps that seal from being less likely to break. You don't have to cover 100% of the area around the baffles. Water takes the path of least resistance. It'll still overflow into the air in the area that you want it to. You'll see in the video I have these orange L brackets. So I used those to make sure that the baffles were not only perpendicular to the bottom of the tank, but also to the sides. You can use anything you really want for that part. Find a book, a box, something you know has a relatively close to 90-degree angle. If it's something important, cover it in newspaper, use it, and then you don't have to worry about it getting ruined. Now at this point you'll see me removing the tape on some areas. What this does after having taped it is gave me the ability to have a nice clean edge after the silicone has dried just a bit. So as I pull that tape up, it leaves a nice sharp edge so that it looks really nice and professional. You don't have to worry about the silicone getting all over the glass and blocking your view, as well as providing a place for algae and other things to attach that you don't want. Now let's take a look at the finished product and really take a moment to appreciate the great work that those veterans did in laser cutting out this baffle set, as well as designing it to fit perfectly inside of this tank. Just to wrap up this part of the video, you guys, a couple of quick tips and tricks for you guys if you are going to go this route. First is make sure you use aquarium safe silicone. Aqueon here makes a really good silicone that you can buy off of Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description. You can get it in this big old tube, or you can get it in the little hand squeeze tube that you see in the video. I highly recommend it. It's a great product. If you can't find that or don't have an Amazon account, then you can go and to your local hardware store and just buy any kind of silicone that is pure silicone. I'll put a link of that down in the description too. GE makes a really a good one that people commonly use. I can't remember if it's type 1 or type 2 silicone, and I'll make sure that I include that in the description below. Other than that, tip number 2 is remember that you're putting chemicals into a closed box that are going to let off fumes that you're going to be standing over for long periods of time as you put the sump together. Silicone has a really, really strong vapor. If you've never dealt with it, very strong smell. Can make you dizzy, can make you nauseous, can even make you pass out if you're sensitive to those kinds of things. So be aware of that when you're putting all this together. Please take breaks. Keep yourself safe, wear a mask if you need to. Other than that, the third thing is make sure that you guys consider this. If you want to go buy one of those really impressive, super pristine sumps, go for it. Knock yourself out. I love them. I've used them in builds. I've had them in personal builds. Personally, if no one's going to see my sump, I go this route. Makes it easy, cheap. I've had a couple of display tanks where the sump was open, it was part of the whole ensemble, and I went out and I bought those really nice tanks because I wanted it to be part of the theme. I had color schemes I wanted it to fit. So, I mean, it's part of the hobby, it's part of every build. But just to give you an example, I recently had a client, 55-gallon sump. Same thing, went to $1 per gallon sale, 55 bucks plus tax for the sump, or for the tank. And then we went to one of the local glass shops here in San Antonio and said, hey, we need these, I think it was 7 baffles, all done up this way and these dimensions and with the edges polished and trimmed so you don't get little cuts when you go into the, when you're getting in and out of the sump. And that was it. And so I think for the whole thing, I think we spent 135, 140 bucks to put it together. Took us a couple hours. Beautiful. Done and done. So just realize, you guys, it's not something difficult to do. Anybody here can do it. Anyone can do it. You don't need a whole lot of knowledge. You don't need special tools. You just need you. One more thing, very important. Almost forgot this. When you're designing your sump, make sure you put extra space in the case that your display tank drains into your sump because of a pump failure. If your return pump fails, all of that excess water that would be normally being pumped out at the same time, more water is coming in from the overflow. It's going to end up in your tank, and it's going to potentially flood it if it wasn't designed right. And I know that that makes an unhappy wife, an unhappy you, because typically that causes a lot of other problems in your tank. You put the animals in your tank, all the little organisms, the corals and fish and other little crustaceans or livestock in there at risk. And if you're living in an apartment like we are right now, then you have to pay potential damages to the property. So just do yourself a favor, take the extra time, plan for it. I always plan for a minimum of 10% of the display volume to be put down into the sump. Usually that's overkill. If you design the tank right, if you put the overflow on as high as you can in the tank reasonably, you won't have a problem. If you make sure your return lines are just barely below the water surface and not really under enough water to siphon water back out into the sump, if you follow all those things, you'll be pretty much fine. And I know people will say, hey, you know, for the siphoning back from the return lines, I'll just put a check valve in there, and they do help, but you have to realize that it's not a fix. You can't rely on that simple valve to prevent your entire tank from siphoning back into the sump. It will slow the process. All of them that I've tested, however, usually have a small leak. It just slows the process down. It might buy you a few hours until you can get to it, but if you're on a vacation for a really long time, you're not going to get home for it. So just do yourself a favor, include check valves if you want, but realize that's not the only thing you need to be considering. Yeah. Anyways, lots of great things coming up here. I don't know. Oh, actually, I don't know if you can see it. Right there is our new Apex Neptune system that we're going to be putting on this tank. Actually, we're going to be setting this up to manage 2 tanks. I don't know if you can see right here. Take this and move it. We got our quarantine tank set up. A little video about that coming up soon. Also, you'll notice I changed my hat finally. I love this hat. It's nice and comfy. It's a snapback. Got it from the Texas State Aquarium in Corpus Christi, Texas. Also, got that little guy. Anyways, I have a lot of really, really cool footage from the coral propagation tanks they have there, the dolphin show, just a bunch of cool things that they have to offer there. So I wanted to take you through that. We are trying to get to see if we can actually get somebody to take us behind the scenes and see how they actually do all the filtration, all the care of all the different animals and tanks there. Hopefully we can, but if not, we'll still have a whole lot of awesome content for you guys. Lots of cool videos coming up. Other than that, don't forget, please, to like, subscribe, share this, talk about it, post it on Reef forums if you can. It's only going to help us. We don't monetize any of these videos. If you see any ads in here, it's not us. It's YouTube. We can't help that. But we're putting this content out purely for you guys. But if no one's listening, we hope it gets to a lot of people. So make sure you are talking about it. Make sure you like, subscribe, do everything you can. We love you guys. Thank you for all your support, and we'll see you guys next time. Ooh. Didn't cover it the first time. I can't do it today. Maybe the new hat wasn't an idea. Let's try it this way.